Yo guys, what is going on? JPS back for another video, and today we're going to be reacting to a day in the life living on a canal narrowboat. A recent video sparked my interest in this about the TV journalist who quit his job to live on a narrowboat. So we're going to see what a day in the life is like rather than a tour. Really enjoyed that one though. And yeah, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, consider joining my Patreon, link in the description, for full reactions to movies and shows from the United Kingdom. Let's get right into it.
Have you ever wandered by the side of a river or canal, just taking in the views, the countryside, the wildlife, and thought about what it might be like to live full-time on a canal narrowboat? I'm Colin, and this is my other half of 29 years, Sean. 2 years ago, we gave up our jobs, sold our home, and built this 57-foot-long narrowboat, which we now live on full-time with our young puppy Otis. We travel around the country exploring the 2,000 miles of canals and rivers, and we often get asked, what's it like to live on a boat? So today, we're going to show you. It's just a normal day in the life, living on a narrowboat.
That's what's up, let's go.
What? You getting up?
They put a camera on the dog. That boat looks awesome from the outside. I love the colors.
Hello.
Good morning.
And welcome to Narrowboat Silver Fox. This is our little home, our 57-foot long by 6-foot 10-inch wide narrowboat home. And you've got to do things a bit differently when you live on a narrowboat, haven't you?
Yeah, you have.
It's like this morning, Sean has to get out of bed first. We've got a king-size bed on the boat.
Yeah.
But because the boat's only 6-foot 10-inch wide, in fact it's smaller inside, it's like the opposite of a TARDIS, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So Sean gets up first, and he'll usually see to the fire. We've got a multi-fuel stove to keep the boat warm, and then he'll take Otis, our Cocker Spaniel puppy, out for a wee.
He has his wee before mine.
Yeah, then you have your wee, don't you? One of several. So I generally crawl. Well, I'm generally pulled out of bed.
No.
That was brutal.
Whoa.
No, that was this morning because you wouldn't get up.
I get up at about 7 o'clock. I don't think that's late.
Yeah, and what time were it this morning?
I don't know. But you do have to do things a bit different when you live on a narrowboat.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully what we're going to show you on today's episode. We're going to go for a little cruise and get some water, because when you live on a boat, you have to make sure that you've got enough water and food and diesel and coal and bits and pieces like that. On the way to the water point, there's a supermarket, so we're going to stop and get some shopping, because what are we having for lunch?
I'm making a beef stew today.
Beef stew. So grab a coat. It is very chilly out there today. You're going to need a coat and maybe a hat and some gloves.
Yeah.
And join us.
Yeah.
First things first, we need to take down the long chimney stack and the pram cover from the back of the boat. Otherwise, they could get caught under the low bridges and get ripped off, and we don't want that, do we? Now, the pram cover's really handy because it gives us extra space on the stern deck of the boat, especially during the winter, but we can also use it if we want to cruise in the rain. To be honest though, that doesn't happen that much, not because we're scared of ripping off the canvas, we just prefer to cruise when it's dry. Welcome to the engine bay of Narrowboat Silver Fox, or the gubbins, the heart of the boat. Before we do any cruising, even though we're only going to do a short half-hour run to the water point at Bugsworth Basin, we always give the engine a check
before we move anywhere. And I'm going to show you what we do and how we do it. All we need is a pair of black protective gloves. We've got some blue roll, and we've got some kitchen spray just in case we need it.
Oil check.
The first thing I'm going to do is check the engine oil, and it's just like how you do it in your car. So I'll take the dipstick out, give it a wipe and put it back in, then leave it for a couple of seconds and pull it back out again. It wants to be just level with the notch, which it is. Yay! Next up is the gearbox oil. This is a bit of a faff to get to. It's got a smaller dipstick, but it's the same principle as the engine oil, so we pull it out and make sure it's at the mark, which it was. After that, I'm going to check the coolant and the oil filler caps just to make sure that they're nice and tight. And I'll give the alternator belts a bit of a wiggle because we don't want them too slack. Otherwise, they might snap or come off and that won't charge the batteries properly. Next, I'll look at all the taps to make sure they're in the right position, and then I'll give the cables, the filters and the electrical connections the once over to make sure they're secure. Then it's my least favourite job, the weed hatch. This is where I have to put my hand in the water, which is freezing at this time of year, to feel around the propeller for any debris. All I need to do is take the cover off, get my hand in there, have a feel about, and just make sure that the propeller is clear, which it is. Now, some people like to wear gloves to do this, but you can't really get a good feel about what's on the prop when you've got big heavy-duty gloves on. Well, everything's clear down there, so the cover can go back on and we'll screw it down nice and tight. Finally, I'll give the engine a quick clean before I put the deck boards back on. With all the engine checks done and the covers down, Sean can start the engine, undo the mooring chains, and we're ready for off.
That's a lot of checks, but definitely necessary.
There's hundreds of these bridges along the canals. Some of them lift up and allow boats to pass underneath, and some of them swing open, like this one. They're proper heavy, I tell you, but the design makes them quite easy to open. Well, I say easy, some of them are a right pain to get moving, but once they're moving, they're alright. You see this chain that's connected to the towpath? That's for those of us who aren't Greg Rutherford and we can't jump over the canal. Please don't try that. It's there so you can pull the bridge shut if you're on the other side of the water. Once Sean's got the boat past and we've persuaded Otis not to jump off, I'll just pull the bridge back into its closed position and this heavy-duty catch locks it back in position.
Wow, that's smart.
That lift bridge were a bit chilly on my hands. I forgot to put my gloves on.
And it's trying to snow.
It is trying to snow again. Now, when you live on a narrowboat, it's really irrelevant if it's snowing or windy or drizzling or mizzling or blowing a hooligan, I don't know.
You still need water.
If you need water, you need water. So we've got to move. Yesterday, it absolutely chucked it down all day. So we thought we'd wait until today. I'd rather go in the cold than the wet,
Yes,
wouldn't you?
yes.
I mean, there's a term, fair weather cruisers, which is people that only go out when it's nice weather, fair weather cruisers.
And we try and do that.
Because it's a nicer experience if it's sunny and warm. But as continuous cruisers in the winter, you've got to put up with the mud and the wet and the wind and the cold. And we're all right with it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're fine.
You just wrap up warm.
Yeah, that's it.
That guy's a nice personality. Both of them.
Question we get asked quite a lot is, what's the speed limit on the canals?
This
Not
speed.
too fast.
The Canal and River Trust says 4 miles an hour on most of the inland waterways.
Yeah.
But in reality, I mean, we're doing about 2 miles an hour, if that.
2 or 3 mile an hour.
Our tick over speed is about 2 miles an hour, maybe just under. And that's about 700 or 800 RPM on the engine.
And that's slower than walking speed.
It is, and when you're passing moored boats, like we are at the moment through Furness Vale Marina, it's important to keep a slow speed because the faster you go in, the more movement you create in the water and wash, and that moves moored boats. It can even pull pins out if they're moored into the ground with pins. The movement can pull the pins out and the boat is off
on its own,
which is not a nice surprise for the owner when it comes back in March to find it.
Yo, imagine you see your boat just cruising by itself. I'd run up to it on the path and
Whenever
jump
we
on
can,
it.
we try to get our shopping delivered by one of the large supermarkets. But today we're actually passing one, so we can moor up just a couple of minutes walk away, which is dead handy.
Ooh.
Do you remember when we were kids and your mum used to give you a list to go to the shop with? Well, I still write these for Sean. So he heads off down the towpath with his bags for life, he grabs a trolley and heads inside to pick up all the essentials, you know, eggs, cereal and the really important stuff like chocolate and Guinness,
Oh,
before
Cadbury,
he heads
yeah.
back out towards the boat with enough supplies to last us another couple of weeks.
We need that Cadbury. That's a real essential. Forget water. You need Cadbury to survive. I love that dairy milk, man.
When you live on a boat, you miss out on some of the luxuries that you get living in a house, like running water and unlimited gas and electricity. We have to make sure that we've got enough water and gas for cooking and diesel for heating and propulsion and coal or seasoned wood for the stove. We also need somewhere to safely get rid of the rubbish. There's plenty of service points along the canal where you can fill it with water and empty your toilet and get rid of your rubbish. Our water tank holds about 350 litres of fresh water, and it takes about 20 minutes from this tap to fill the tank, and that'll last us a couple of weeks. We've also got a spare jerry can which holds another 25 litres. While the water tank's filling up, Sean takes the rubbish to the bins and we empty the toilet, but you don't want to see that bit. We're full of water, we've got rid of the rubbish, and it's time to head back to our mooring to get some lunch.
There's one thing you must never forget, and that's your little brass attachment, because they cost money.
Oh, yeah. Let me make sure we're in the highest.
We are in the galley.
We are.
Well, Sean's in the galley. I'm not allowed in the galley while you're cooking.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's snowing. Wow.
He hisses at me. He actually
beautiful.
hisses at me. But I think that goes back to your Navy days, doesn't it?
Yes, no one was allowed in the galley on board ship.
And how many people did you used to cook for?
Oh, about 300 or 400.
You had 300 or 400 men on one ship.
Absolutely.
It's no wonder he had a smile on his face in all them photos. Talking of beef, what are we having today?
We're having beef and vegetable stew cooked in the thermal cooker.
And what does the thermal cooker do?
It cooks basically exactly the same as a slow cooker, but you don't need any power.
Wow. So, right, you better show us how to make this beef stew.
First, we're going to peel the potatoes and chop them into large bite-sized pieces. Next, we peel and chop the carrots into large bite-sized pieces. Next, we quarter the mushrooms.
Okay.
Next, we chop the tomatoes. Next to do is chop the onions, roughly chopped, into about 1-inch pieces. Now we're going to get a different chopping board because we're going to chop the beef. And we chop the beef into large chunks. Next, we just make our stock, and all we use is stock cubes, or just use a simple stock pot that you can buy in any of the grocery stores. Now I've got about a tablespoonful of olive oil in the frying pan, and we're going to brown the meat off.
Okay.
You need to make sure that you get the oil nice and hot so that when you put the meat in, it really sizzles. Now the meat's browned off, we will put a couple of tablespoons of flour in there and then cook that through. And when this is cooking in the thermal cooker, this will help thicken the gravy.
I didn't know we were gonna get a cooking show too. I'm excited for this. Looks good so
Now
far.
it's time to put everything into the thermal cooker. So first we put in the beef. Then we put in the potatoes and the carrots. Then we put in the mushrooms and the onions. And then the tomatoes. Then we add the stock. Don't worry about this being quite full, it will reduce down as it cooks. Then once you've got the stock in, all you need to do is make sure it's covered by adding extra water just to the rim there. Now we're going to put the lid on the pan and then we're going to bring it to the boil and simmer it for 10 minutes.
Okay. That looks good.
Well, it's just about ready to go into the pot. So if, like us, that you like your gravy a little bit richer, you can add at this point a couple of extra stock cubes. And if you notice now it's come to the boil and simmering, the vegetables and the sauce has now reduced a little bit. Before I put it into the thermal cooker, I'm going to add salt and pepper, oregano and Worcestershire sauce.
I think we timed it just right going for water this morning, because if you were looking through the window, you'll have noticed it started snowing while Sean was preparing dinner.
Yeah, and if you want the recipe for that dinner or want to know more about the thermal cooker, we've put it in the video description.
While the beef stewing, we'll take Otis out for his afternoon run. Because we like to moor out in the countryside, there's usually some nice places where we can let him off the lead for a good run. You know I'm talking about Otis, right? Not Sean. If you've watched any of our previous vlogs, you'll know that I have a lot of issues with stress and anxiety and depression, mostly caused by my high-functioning autism. So it's not just Otis who benefits from a bit of physical exercise every day. I like to go for a run, maybe a bike ride, and do some bodyweight exercises on or just off the boat to keep me physically fit. It helps me to release negative energy, if that makes sense. And it doesn't stop the mental health stuff, but I think it does help a lot.
That's awesome.
While I'm exercising, Sean's usually taking advantage of me being off the boat to get some cleaning done. Even though it's only 57 foot long and 6'10" wide, we've got a solid fuel stove and a puppy, so it's a bit like the Forth rail bridge. You know, as soon as you've gone through it from one end to the other, you need to start again. I generally do all the filming and editing for our YouTube vlogs, and sometimes I'll need to convert the bedroom into a mini sound studio to record voiceovers like this. Each vlog usually takes me about a week to produce. That's including the filming and all the editing. We
That's
also do our best to keep up with all the social media because we like to reply to every single YouTube comment, all our Twitter and Facebook and Instagram replies, and the dozens of emails we get every day. It can take forever, but we love the interaction and the engagement.
Are you coming off that computer? Dinner's ready.
Hey, that is just like me, bro. I'll be on the computer, on YouTube Studio.
When we built the boat, we had an external antenna fitted on the roof. It's connected to a router in the saloon, and it means that we can have Wi-Fi for his computer and phones, and also our television. So we can watch Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the on-demand channels.
That is so cozy. Oh my god. Hey.
Oh, beef stew. It's coming out at the other end with me.
Oh, so what, that typical day then?
Yeah, it just felt like it took a week to film it. Is it all it's cracked up to be for you though? Narrowboat life.
For me, yeah. I love it.
Like even like the confined space.
Yeah.
And having a puppy running up and down.
Oh, he's a nightmare.
And the mud. And the cold. And the people on the towpath. And the generators.
You know me.
I suppose it's all worth it. It's just I don't know. It takes some adjustment, doesn't it?
Yes.
And if you can adjust to the lifestyle, I think you find that the benefits, more often than not, will outweigh the negatives.
Are we done yet?
We're trying to talk to him and explain what a day in the life is.
Are we done yet?
Go to bed if you want to go to
Go to
bed.
bed.
What the
Tonight.
heck?
Oh, well. We hope you've enjoyed your little day in the life with us. Take all the duvet. If you're not already and you'd like to see more of this weirdness, please subscribe to the channel. If you've enjoyed this particular episode, give the video a thumbs up. And if you want YouTube to let you know every time we release a new episode, just hit the notifications bell and YouTube will let you know. It's every Friday at 4 o'clock usually, anyway. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do it by becoming a member of our YouTube channel. There's a join button on our homepage, or you can do it via Patreon. There's a link somewhere above Sean's head.
We have
Can
a
you hear him
Patreon too.
snoring already? You alright?
You're just like me.
Oh, bless him. We hope you've enjoyed this, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Or I'm just like them, I guess. Probably. Oh! Was that real? There's no way.
Oh, dear.
There's no way that was real. Alright, let's see this.
I've just learned something after 29 years that I never knew about Sean.
What?
And that's that he can make himself burp by swallowing burps. Haven't you? How have I only just learned that after 28 years?
Just swallow a bit of air
and another one. That's hilarious. Can you do it from
How?
your bum as well?
No.
Back in a moment.
We live on a. Oh, it's. Yeah.
He'd just have to climb over me.
I've done that a few times in the past, haven't I? Then you have your morning. Yeah, and you're,
Are you going to show us how to make a beef stew?
We are.
Yeah.
It's absolutely freezing.
Is we can put it wherever we want.
Right.
Excuse the pun.
All right. So that was a day in the life living on a canal narrowboat. What is this channel called? Foxes Afloat. And their boat actually had, I think it was called Fox something. So yeah, I really like that channel. Make sure you guys show them some support if you enjoyed it. Go over to their channel, hit that subscribe button, because that was an awesome video. I really liked the editing, and the dog was super cute, and kind of gave me a view of what it's like living on a canal narrowboat. It's a pretty laid back lifestyle. Especially a lot of the canal narrowboat day in the lives I've seen, obviously they're on YouTube, so they're YouTubers, but it seems like they all have some sort of a passive income or kind of gig work going on, so they don't really have a scheduled out day where you have to work a 9 to 5, which I think that's something I really want to do. Not necessarily live on a narrowboat, but not have a 9 to 5. Yeah, I really enjoyed that video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my reaction. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next video.